Hey, welcome back, everyone. Why is it that the days get louder when our mind gets quieter? Like, the moment you finally get a second to breathe, the to-do list just floods in. But I'm also talking about the real stuff, the stuff you've been avoiding. Things like, the hell do I do after I leave this job? Or, am I ready for this next chapter? And for some, even though that chapter isn't even close yet, the questions don't seem to care. They show up uninvited. Our jobs teach us how to deal with the chaos. What it doesn't always teach us is how to deal with the stillness. That silence is where the hard questions start whispering. And here's the twist. Most of the time, we're not short on answers. We're short on space. See, nobody trains us for the in-between, for the moment where you're still in, but also halfway out, where you're respected at work, but unsure if that same version of you carries over when the uniform comes off. And if we're being honest, most of us don't really struggle with knowing what to do. We struggle with giving ourselves permission to actually do it. This episode isn't about maxing out every hour of your day or building some perfect plan. It's about something more grounded than that. Something most of us are guilty of wasting without even realizing it. Something that isn't guaranteed tomorrow, but shapes everything about what happens next. So with that, let's get into round 83 of the tactical transition tips. This time the topic is, time is on my side. For the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away or you're less than a year out, start me up. You're at the starting line of the transition quarter mile. Time isn't something you can make up, so drop the clutch and bury the gas pedal. For the medium range group, those of you looking at your transition in 5 years or so, can't you hear me knocking? You're close enough to hear the party. It's not time to slow down. It's time to pick up the pace and get yourself through the door. And for the long range group, those of you just starting your careers, you've got at least a decade before your transition, waiting on a friend. Because you can't transition alone. You do it with those you've walked the journey with. Close range group. I know what's going on. The countdown isn't just a someday anymore. That clicking of the clock is getting louder. 6 months out, less than a year. Maybe you've got your separation paperwork already filed, your retirement dates put in with HR. Or maybe it's just something you haven't said out loud yet, but you've already started to mentally step one foot out the door. Here's the thing. This is the part nobody really trains us for. The moment where you're still doing the job, but inside. Your mind is bouncing between worry and hope, between I've got time and I'm already behind, between maybe I'll figure it out and I have no idea what's next. And I want to tell you, you're not crazy for feeling that way. That's transition. That's what it feels like when you're living in between chapters. You're not fully in, but not fully out. And that emotional tug-of-war, damn, it's exhausting. So the tip, start me up. It isn't about doing more. It's about choosing momentum. Because if you don't set the tempo, the uncertainty is going to do it for you. Here's a few ways you can start building that momentum. Most important, structure wins every time, especially when your thoughts feel scattered and the pressure's creeping in. So pick 1 hour every weekday. Make it a priority. Eliminate the interruptions and the distractions. This is your power block. It's your time to move the mission forward. Now, what goes into that hour, though? That's going to depend on where you're at. But think resume updates, job applications, follow-ups, jobs and company research, interview preparation. This is definitely not the glamorous stuff. And you might even feel like it's pointless if you're not getting any other hits yet. But it's not about immediate results. It's about establishing a rhythm. Because the first thing that dies during transition is consistency. That's why most people lose momentum. They have good intentions, but no structure. And when life starts tossing curveballs, when your family needs you, when work gets in the way, when stress builds up, You stop doing your work. You skip one day, then two, and suddenly a week's gone by and you haven't touched your plan. Your power block, that has to be non-negotiable. Even if the rest of the day goes off the rails, that 1 hour ensures that you're still in motion. You still need to keep showing up every day, 1 hour at a time. This October 28th and 29th, the Military Officers Association of America is bringing together 3,000 voices, military leaders, warfighters, veterans, and families at National Harbor in Maryland for their inaugural conference, Total Force Plus. This isn't just another military conference. It's a mission to advance solutions for our military and veteran community, including leadership development, quality of life, military transition, and maximizing the veteran's experience. It's all on the table. This is where the next generation of military solutions will be tackled, at the first and only military conference where people outrank everything. And because the mission is so important, MOA is making attendance free for those who are currently serving, the spouses of those currently serving, and all federal employees within the DoD and VA. Secure your seat now, as tickets are limited and offered on a first-come, first-served basis. Visit TotalForcePlus.org to see if you qualify for your free ticket and to register for the conference. The next thing is not about output, it's about input. If you're constantly running on fumes, you're not going to transition well. You're going to burn out mentally, emotionally, and physically. I want you to try the 30-30-30 rule. 30 minutes of movement, 30 minutes of self-care, 30 minutes of learning. 90 minutes total. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be at a specific time. But every day, get those 3 in. Movement could be a walk, a workout, a bike ride with your spouse. Anything that gets your blood moving and resets your body. Self-care, that's your time to center. Coffee in quiet silence when you wake up in the morning. Journaling, prayer, meditation. This is not physical. It's your pause. Take this time to be still and be inside your mind. And learning, that's your edge. Read a book about communication, a YouTube video about the job field that you're targeting, researching companies that you're applying to. This has to be intentional. You start stacking these, not only are you physically stronger, you're clearer, you're sharper, and more resilient. Because the journey isn't just about checking boxes. It's about staying ready. Because the opportunity might not show up on your schedule, but when it does show up, you want to be sharp enough to grab it. Next one, every week, I want you to make contact with 3 people. Could be your mentors, could be former teammates, a friend of a friend, somebody in the industry that you're curious about. It doesn't have to be a big ask. Just reach out, check in, ask questions. Let them know you're transitioning and want to hear their story. Remember, none of us are taught to fight alone. We're trained team first. So don't think of transition as a solo mission. You'd be surprised, though, how many doors get opened just because you asked. A quick text turns into a call turns into a cup of coffee. Coffee turns into a connection. And sometimes that connection turns into a job. But even if it doesn't, you just got a little bit sharper, a little more informed, a little more connected. And if reaching out feels awkward, remember, people want to help, especially if they've been where you are. But they can't help if they don't know what you need. You've got to be the one to go first. Now let's talk about what we avoid. The form that needs updating, the benefits paperwork you still haven't reviewed, the resume that's missing recent information. Regardless what it is, you know what I'm talking about. Those loose ends that keep piling up in the back of your mind. Block off an hour a week just for chaos. It's your chaos hour. Deal with the small stuff that doesn't feel urgent, but absolutely will bite you later if you don't address it. Tackle those little tasks now, and you clear the runway for later. Because trust me, once the clock hits 0, the last thing you want is to be scrambling, especially over details you could have handled weeks or months ago. Here's one I'm sure many of you probably have dealt with in some way, but a lot of the interviews getting done today are going to be done virtually. Do you have a computer? Please avoid doing these interviews from your phone. But does your computer have any connection issues? Are you going to struggle with getting on these calls? Handle them. The last thing, transition isn't just tactical, it's emotional. You're leaving something big, something you gave years of your life to. You're walking away from identity, that brotherhood, that camaraderie, from a vision of what you once felt was permanent. There's grief in that, but there's also pride, fear, hope, anger, maybe even a little bit of guilt. It's okay to feel all of that. What's not okay is pretending like it's not happening. That's why you need to time box your emotions. 15 minutes a day, that's your window. You can yell, you can vent, you can cry, you can breathe. But once the timer hits, you shift back to action. Now, so that I'm being clear, I'm not saying feelings don't matter. Whatever you do, do not ignore them, but they're not the mission. Build a habit where you can honor your emotions without letting them hijack your whole day. You can't let your emotions run your transition. You've still got time, but not as much as you think. The days slip by fast. And if you're not careful, you'll look up one day and the uniform's folded on a chair and you're standing there asking yourself, shit, what now? That's why start me up is more than a phrase. It's a mindset. You don't wait to feel ready. You choose to start. Start with structure. Start with intention. Start with connection. Start with 60 minutes. Start today. Medium range group. There's no reason to be in any type of panic. You're not up against a clock like the close range group. You've still got rubber on the tires. And I know you've probably thought, 5 years or so, I've still got time. Technically you do. But let's be real. How often does later become last minute? It's easy to trick yourself into thinking that this version of you will be enough, that it'll somehow translate on its own when the time comes. But the horse pill to swallow? Momentum doesn't just show up the day you need it. It has to be built ahead of time. Can't You Hear Me Knockin' is a reminder that opportunity doesn't always burst through the door. Sometimes it gives you a soft knock, and it's up to you to listen and answer before the knocking stops. Make time for curiosity. One of the smartest moves you can do right now is to carve out a couple hours a month to explore something outside of your current position. It might sound small, but it'll pay off. Do what it takes to learn something new. Read an article or a book. Listen to a podcast. Sit in on a virtual seminar. Grab a cup of coffee with somebody in a completely different industry. You just need to gather. You might believe you know what you want to do after this, but do you really? Do you know exactly what the job entails? But on the other hand, do you really know what you don't want to do? Learning helps confirm what is a for sure no. Sometimes we forget there's a whole world outside of what we do day to day. In that world, it's full of roles that you might be perfect for, if you just take the time to explore them. You need to build in options. You need to ask yourself, what else might fit me a few years from now? I want you to lean into what you believe you want to do, but don't wait until you're out to develop backup options. Start gathering intel now. Next, track what triggers you. This one's going to feel less obvious, but it might be the most valuable. For the next month, I want you to take notes every time something frustrates you. Not just the surface stuff. I mean, the things that really rattle your cage. A tone somebody uses, a process that feels broken, the way a certain kind of meeting kind of drags you down. Don't dismiss those reactions. Don't just chalk it up to a bad day. What you're doing here is learning you on a deeper level. Those emotional triggers, they often point to something more important. Maybe it's a value of yours that you feel is being violated. Maybe it's a skill set going unused. Maybe it's burnout starting to creep in. Maybe burnout's fully in. You need to understand what drains you, what irritates you, what makes you feel disrespected. Because whatever it is that frustrates you now, you need to find a way not to carry it into your next chapter. And on the flip side, realizing how to name your reactions and navigate them makes you better on the job right now. You're going to communicate with more clarity. You're going to build more trust. You're not going to lose your cool as easily. You're going to manage your emotions instead of being managed by them. The people who will be hiring you, pay attention to that. So do the people you work with. Self-awareness isn't fluff, it's operational maturity. There are a lot of veteran and first responder-owned coffee companies out there. Trident Coffee is one of them, but they're different. They're cold brew experts, and their beans are roasted for cold brew optimization. But for those of you who love hot coffee, this is a benefit to you as well. Hot or cold, their coffees taste amazing without the bitterness. Their instant cold brew is infused with powerful ingredients for performance, focus, and wellness, including antioxidants and electrolytes, ensuring smooth, steady energy with no jitters and no crashes. This isn't just coffee, it's fuel for your brain and your body. Whatever your coffee needs, Trident has you covered. From a variety of great tasting roasted beans to their instant cold brew and nitro cold brew in a can for when you're on the go. However you drink it, Trident Coffee is coffee upgraded. Get yours now at tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your purchase. Let's zoom out just a little. You're not just transitioning as a professional. You're transitioning as a whole person. And odds are, you're not doing it alone. You've got a family or people who are depending on you. And they're going to feel the shift just as much as you will. So use this phase to bring them into the process early on. Take an afternoon and just talk with your spouse and your kids. What does our life look like a few years from now? Where do we want to live? For you personally, focus on and let them know what kind of work do you want to be doing or not doing? What does balance mean for the family? These are big questions, but don't let that intimidate you. You're not writing this into a contract. You're just building alignment. Because when you can tie today's actions to a bigger picture for the whole family, you create buy-in. You reduce their resistance. You feel less alone through this slug. It's easy to fall into a rhythm where transition prep feels like a side hustle, like you're doing it in secret. But when your family's on board, it becomes a shared mission, and that's powerful. Next, here's where your experience pays dividends, not just for you, but for the ones coming up behind you. Find one or two people in your unit, within your organization, and start mentoring them. Not by giving them pep talks once a quarter. Really invest in them. Teach them how you operate, how you handle pressure, how you manage time, and how you advocate for other people. It doesn't take much. Grab lunch once a month. Take 5 minutes after a shift to check in on them. Make sure they're aware, though, that you are available for them. And here's why this matters for your transition. Mentorship sharpens you. It forces you to articulate what you know. It makes you reflect on your own leadership. It builds stories and examples that you'll eventually use in interviews when you're asked, "Tell me about a time you developed somebody." And beyond that, it's legacy. One day you're going to walk out the door. And when you do, what you leave behind should be people who are stronger, sharper, and better prepared because of you. Let's end with a gut check. This is the part of your career where the slow fade can sneak in, where it becomes tempting to ease up a little, when the attitude starts to go sideways. You start saying, "Let the next guy figure it out." Please don't do it. Avoid the temptation. How you carry yourself now becomes the story people tell when your name comes up later. It becomes your recommendation letter that's not stamped. And not just that, it keeps you aligned. Because when you lower your standards, even slightly, it doesn't just affect others. It affects how you see yourself. You've worked too hard, served too long, built too much credibility to start dialing it in now. Your reputation is your resume. And if you think no one's watching, think again. Your junior teammates, they're watching. Your supervisors are watching. That hiring manager who's going to be scanning your background in a few years, they're also watching. Through what your references are going to say, through how you describe your last few years on the job. So stay sharp, stay accountable, stay mission ready. Even if you're a few years from walking out, that day is coming. You don't want to be the one who used to be great. You want to be the one who finished strong. Long range group. Wherever you're at, you're on the earlier than later side of your career. You've got some momentum. You've got some energy. Transition is not a concept. Not for you, at least. And at least not right now. You're focused on the job. You're focused on becoming the best you. Or at least you should be. I'm assuming, though, if you're listening to these episodes, you are. And if you listen to these episodes, you know I like to harp on this. For these careers, this early phase can be a bit of a trap. And trust me, many of us fall into it without realizing it. The trap is believing that time is your friend. But the truth is, time doesn't just serve you. However, it does watch how you use it. So when I say waiting on a friend, I don't mean someone to come save you. But what I do mean is the future version of you is out there waiting, hoping you'll build the kind of habits, relationships, and identity that'll make transition a little easier when the day finally arrives. You don't have to plan your entire exit strategy today, but you do need to get intentional with how you spend your time today, because the habits you build now become your transition strategy, whether you realize it or not. What is the grind? It's not just a routine, but the decision we make to wake up, give everything we've got, then find a way to go further. Grind, spelt GRND, is more than a brand. It's a movement, an emotion we all feel connected to as we work daily to pursue our goals and support each other. Founded by a former Army Ranger, Grind Activewear has a clear mission: to give 100% and then some more. In sport, fitness, and in life. Functional, high-quality performance wear that's rooted in American culture. Because you demand gear that outworks the rest. Whether you're on the field, in the gym, or building your own lane, Grind is for those who refuse to settle. Go check out the Grind Collective. That's the grndcollective.com and tap into something bigger than clothing. And while you're there, use the promo code TRANSITION15 to get 15% off your purchase. You ever notice how fast time flies by once you get into a rhythm? It's almost like the routine swallows the days. And when things are running smoothly, it's easy to let certain things slide. Workouts get skipped. Sleep might get inconsistent. Meals become whatever's closest to the station or the base. And downtime starts getting filled with screens instead of restoration. Right now is when you need to build the habits that will carry you through not only your career, but also your transition. And not because someone's making you, but because you're worth showing up before anyone else needs you to. Start with the basics. Keep up with regular exercise, but not just for your body, for your mind also. Get quality sleep, because burnout doesn't announce itself. It sneaks up on you. Get good nutrition, fuel that keeps you sharp, not just full. And a hobby or a skill outside of work, something that reminds you who you are beyond the uniform. If you make time for it now, it becomes second nature. And when transition does come, those habits become your structure, your anchor, your reset switch. Discipline today is how you protect your peace tomorrow. Don't let the career become the whole story. These careers become part of us. The pride in what we do You're in that phase where you're getting better at it, and it feels good to be counted on, to be part of something that matters. But that can also be a danger zone. When the career becomes so intertwined with your identity that you stop asking, who am I without it? And this isn't about planning your exit. It's about protecting your core. Because the moment you start believing that the rank or the uniform is your identity, that's the moment you become vulnerable. One day, whether by choice or if the choice is taken away from you, the job is going to end. Who are you beyond the job? Who are you to your family? Who are you to your friends? What do you bring to the table outside of what you're carrying in your LBV? Starting investing in that version of you today, because you need to stay whole. Next, build relationships that last beyond the uniform. In this line of work, it's easy to build surface level connections. You work together, train together, maybe grab beers after a shift. Sorry, off topic just for a second. Do you guys still drink? I keep hearing that the younger generation doesn't drink at all or as much. I hear you're not doing choir practice. Yeah, I'm reminiscing a little bit. I still believe it's the hanging out after work that really builds bonds. Our jobs allow us to bond through shared hardship, through dark humor, through mutual understanding of what the job takes. But on the other hand, who's in your circle that really knows you? Who checks in on how you're doing? Who could you call tomorrow if you were really struggling? Who separates you from the career? Who do you check on? Who do you let in? And I mean really let in. Here's the thing. The quality of your relationships, both at work and away from work, are going to dictate the quality of your transition. Because when the job ends, the structure goes with it. And if you haven't built solid connections, you're going to get hit hard. So start now. Be intentional. Strengthen one friendship this month. Check in on somebody without an agenda. Let someone see the real you. You can also, and I recommend this, build relationships across generations. Find some old salt who's already transitioned. Ask them questions. Watch how they live. Find out what they say, what they wish they'd done differently. But also know this, you're actually going to be helping them. You're going to allow them to keep that feeling of brotherhood, because you know they're probably missing it, and keep them feeling a little bit connected to the game. You might not like this next one. Start volunteering for tasks or projects that stretch you. The things that build leadership skills, communication skills, project management experience. The stuff that doesn't always come with a ribbon, or that your buddies are going to think, man, that's cool. But that's what quietly sharpens you. Offer to run the briefing. Put together a new training class. Sit in on a hiring panel. Because down the road, when you sit in a job interview, they're going to ask for examples of leadership, accountability, conflict resolution, initiative. Those stories, you're writing them now. So take the uncomfortable task. Raise your hand when others look away. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. The time you build, or the time to build, your transition story is long before anyone asks to hear it. And let me close with this. And I say it with nothing but respect. Stop waiting. Not because you need to rush, not because you need to panic, but because the illusion that you'll start when it matters is what keeps most people unprepared. The right time to start building your foundation is now, before it's urgent, before it's scary, while you still have the gift of space. Time doesn't care if you're ready, but it will reward the ones who respect it early. Don't wait for the perfect moment, or the perfect mentor, or the perfect plan. Just start. Start building yourself. Start building relationships. Start investing in the version of you that will one day step away from the uniform and still be rock solid. Because transition isn't a cliff. It's just a bend in the road, And you've got the chance right now to prepare to hit the apex perfectly. All right, let's bring this home. It sucks how the quiet moments hit the hardest. Not the chaos, it's the stillness. When the noise fades and you're left with a thought that you can't quite shake, that maybe things won't always be like this, that maybe something's changing, even if it hasn't taken full shape yet. You don't have to say it out loud, but somewhere deep down, you can feel it. Change is coming. And when it does, it won't ask if you're ready. So take the hours you've got now and make them matter. The little ones, the ones you usually give away, because they add up to your confidence, your clarity, your momentum. To the momentum, you'll look back and realize you didn't wait for it to start. You started it. And are validated that time is on your side. Thank you for taking the time to listen to or watch the episode. I would really appreciate if you have any comments on what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what's missing for you. Please reach out on social media, send me an email. The links are all in the show notes. Also, if you're not already, please follow the podcast wherever you're getting the podcast. Another ask, please share the podcast with anyone you think could benefit from and enjoy it. And last, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter.